At that time, at that AFLV retreat, most of the white audience mass exodus from the room, and there was an inspiring 1,000+ people in that room, all African American for the most part, all sharing culture and their diversity. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt like I belonged somewhere. I had a room full of people that looked similar to me, and I was excited for whatever was about to take place. I saw Stomp the Yard when I was a kid. I've watched all of those college movies, and I was excited to finally be experiencing that. And when everything got started, I was excited. The music was playing. They had a DJ there. They officially started the event, and everybody stood up, and they sang 1,000 black voices singing the Black National Anthem all at once, and I didn't know the words. And that hit me hard in that moment. It made me realize that I don't really know what my cultural background is. I don't really know who I am. I don't really know what it is that makes me who I am as a person, and that made me deeply uncomfortable in that moment. I forced myself to stay there in that discomfort, and in one of the most embarrassing turns of comfort, from comfort to discomfort in that moment, the wobble came on, and for those of you that know me, the wobble is my jam. So the wobble came on, and I jumped from my seat in excitement. Discomfort gone immediately. I ran to the center. I was ready to lead this dance. And I got up as soon as the first note hit. I jumped and started doing the dance. But wobble to the black sororities and fraternities that were there, and wobble to me, an ex-DJ who thought he knew the dance because he studied the YouTube videos, was very different. And I was excited, and I was in it, and I was doing it, and I was the only one doing my rendition of that dance, and I looked to my left and soon got pushed out of the way because I was doing the dance incorrectly. There was another 2 hours left of that event, and I was ashamed already. But I forced myself in that moment to recognize that I was uncomfortable and to stay present and to learn from this event. That event was absolutely empowering to the people that were there, and it made me realize that, again, I didn't really know where I was from. When I was a child, I was bounced around from home to home often. I was put in the foster system when I was around 12 years old. I never established roots anywhere, and I never knew where or who or what grouping of people I came from. And that made it so important for me to put something like this together. Come on, Alana. This is our final panelist, Alana. But that made it very important to me to put together an experience on campus and connect with the right people in the right places to make that experience possible for other kids. And this is step 1, step 2, step 3 of that process. I don't know what's going to come after this, but I'm wholly inspired to keep repeating this and to keep doing this moving forward so that Black and brown and diverse students can experience leadership and experience people making change on campus so that they know that we're here too. So with that being said, I'll give our panelists an opportunity to introduce ourselves. We'll start with Lee Ban here.
Welcome. All right. Welcome. My name is Lee Ban Hashi. I'm a junior, and I am an accounting major and soon-to-be political science minor. Some groups I represent are, I am the social media coordinator for both Somali Student Association and Black Intelligent Gentlemen, and I'm the vice president of conduct review for the Interfraternity Council. When I was growing up, I also, like Devontae, I moved around from place to place. I didn't really establish any roots anywhere. I kind of like moved around from city, like I moved from Minneapolis, St. Paul, Fargo, Canada, and I kind of moved around. And then I eventually landed in Champlin, Minnesota. And then, you know, I enjoyed my time there. My family moved back to Somalia during around my 18th birthday, so I was kind of in the United States by myself. So it was kind of hard to, you know, have that support when everybody that you've known that supported you is 3,000 miles away. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Hello, my name is El Shaddai Zerko. I'm a grad student. I'm studying my master's in engineering management. Um, Regarding orgs and groups, I mostly run the RSOs on campus, so I'm not able to actively participate in any anymore. A short synopsis, I am from Ethiopia. I came here for college, and so left my family and everything I knew for college, but I came with a group of students from high school, so I kind of had a sense of home here. I did my undergrad here, and so now doing my master's, this is kind of like my second home now. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Simon Isaac, and I am from a place where your identification can become a sentence. I come from a place of growth where leaders like me don't have a place, are persecuted. I am a Venezuelan. I'm a Venezuelan activist, which combines activism with art itself. I am a writer, I am a poet, and I am someone that has learned that to speak through power, you have to speak through presence. My history is not only about being a transfer student, but by doing as much as I could in my country with different, not only projects that regarded art, but also self-expression through poetry and literature for young people, for students, and to build community within a country that needs it. So the first thing that I want to say to you is that for you to know what type of leadership you're looking for, you have first, never to minimize who you are and what you feel, and second, dare to defy, because the only way of being a leader is being present. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name's Kiera. I'm a junior. My major is applied health science with an emphasis in pre-athletic training, and then I have a sports medicine minor. I'm currently the president of the Black Student Union on campus, and I'm also a community advisor in Res Life. And, well, I don't know, I live here by myself. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota, born and raised. My family's from the South in Chicago, but I've been in Minnesota all my life, and yeah.
Hello, my name is Isabo Koromoy, and I'm a junior. I major in sociology and psychology, and I minor in biology. I run track and field here, and I am a publications coordinator in BSU. I am a Sudanese American. I was born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa. My parents are straight out of South Sudan. I'm bilingual. I speak Arabic Juba, which is a dialect of Arabic, and I'm just here to make my parents proud and explore all the opportunities that they wanted me to explore in the first place. So, you know. Hello.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alana Russell. I am a senior. My majors are dental hygiene and applied health science on a public health track with 2 minors in biology and chemistry. I was previously Black Student Union president, and I currently help out in the Office of African American Affairs. A short synopsis of my life: I was born in the Bahamas. I came here when I was 4. I lived in Maryland for most of my life. I moved to Kentucky for my freshman year of college, and then I transferred here to Mankato.
Hello, my name is Riley Evans. I am the graduate assistant for American Indian Affairs, and I am a master's student in my second year in the Gender and Women's Studies program. I'm from Robbinsdale, which is it's just right outside Minneapolis. And Mankato is actually the first primarily white institution that I've been to. I'm Native American. My grandpa is from Grand Portage, Minnesota, which is way super up north. I grew up my parents went to the same high school that I went to, so we have our roots in Robbinsdale. But I did my undergrad here in criminal justice with minors in American Indigenous Studies and law enforcement, and my boss decided to try to convince me to stay here, and so now I'm GA for American Indian Affairs, and I really like it here in Mankato. So yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Moshood Agbola Ojora Williams. I am from Lagos, Nigeria. I major in exercise physiology. I am also a teaching assistant at the Department of Health, so I teach CPR and first aid. I did my undergrad a couple of hours away from here in Marshall, Minnesota. I did major in biology and exercise science with minor in political science. My journey, just a little bit of, I've served as student leader ever since middle school from back home in Nigeria, and that has been my journey so far through the years. And I also served as the Student United State Treasurer a couple of years ago, I think a year after the pandemic. And I moved here last year. I started my program, and I also founded the Exercise Physiology Club, and I currently serve as the RSO coordinator for the International Student Association, and also the Community and Wellness Chair for the ABOD. That's my journey so far.
Hello everyone, my name is Lillian Nan. I'm a sophomore and I'm majoring in special education with a minor in adolescent psychology. I am a part of fraternity and sorority life here on campus, including Alpha Sigma Alpha. A little bit about me, I am from Rochester, Minnesota. I grew up in an immigrant household and have my dual citizenship in Vietnam. I am bilingual, so I speak Vietnamese and English, and I'm just here to share a little bit about me.
Hello everyone. Oh, that's too loud. My name is Cesar Rios. I am an international Latino student, a graduate Latino student in the College Students Affairs program. I'm also the graduate assistant of the Department of Community Partnerships under the DEI division. And and I also serve as the president of GRACE, which stands for Graduate Representation and Action for Community Engagement. And I'm very proud to say this, that's the one and only graduate RSO here in our university. If I have to say something about me, I love learning, meeting new people, places, and sharing what I've learned with others, because I think that's also how you learn from others. And yeah, I'm from Mexico, so that's me.
I got one. So just to let you guys know a little bit about the selection process for the panelists up here today. From my position as VP of DEI in IFC, I went to the multicultural centers and asked them to nominate their leaders to participate in this panel. And so these are truly some of the best and brightest that the school has to provide. So let's give a round of applause for our panelists. So we'll start off our conversation basis here. The way that this works is we are going to have a conversation here with you guys present, essentially. This is a conversation including you, so if there are questions at the end, there will be a Q&A portion for you guys to be involved as well. So what we're going to start off with is something that I know I struggle with a lot, which is wearing masks. So it is a common trope within diversity that there is an unexpected, or there is a unspoken expectation for perfection. And I don't have an opportunity to fail is something that I was birthed into. Like, that is something that I was raised with passionately, is that I have to be perfect at all times, or otherwise I will have opportunities removed from my list of opportunities, if you will. So the first question that I suppose I have to everyone is that something that you guys experience as well? I know I have to wear at least 3 or 4 different masks. I'm wearing a mask right now to present to you professionally, where I have to change my candor and my diction. I have to change how I speak. I have to make sure that I appear professional to you. I sit up straight, pull my shoulders back, make sure you view me as professional. And then when I leave here and I go into the Veterans Center, I'm comfortable. There might be some profanity that comes out of my mouth because I'm comfortable in that space. I'm in there speaking to people that have had similar experiences as me inside of the military, and so we are more comfortable with each other in that way. When I go up to the multicultural centers, I'm comfortable, but I'm comfortable in a very different way where the profanity isn't necessarily there. The bond that I share with the people in the MCC Center is different than the bond that I share with the people in the Veterans Center. So I have to monitor my diction and how I present myself to them in those centers, and so as not to create conflict, so as not to present myself in a way that's going to be brash or sharp-edged. And I would like to explore the reasoning for that, or if other people feel that way as well.
Hello? Okay. Yes, so the first thing, I think the system is made for us to shrink ourselves in front of it. So the first thing I gotta say is yes, I have done it a million times. The first thing is I present myself as Simon when my name in Spanish is Simon. And that is because every person that comes from another nationality fears of judgment because of our accent. Also, I think during the different things that I haven't done, that I have done in campus that I didn't mention, I'm a senator in the student government. I'm a writer for The Reporter. I'm the president of the Maverick Model of United Nations. I have volunteered in different RSOs. I have done public relations with the Latin American Student Association, different RSOs too. And first, I try to not hide myself under a mask because I think that vulnerability, it's actually the pathway to go against the system. How we don't shrink ourselves against the system is how we exist as a way of protest of ourselves, of our ideals, of our beliefs too. So yeah, I think that's my experience.
Do you find that difficult to maintain? Because in the last couple of years, I've done everything that I can to present myself honestly, and I find that there's different situations that I feel like I can't necessarily, and I have to force myself to be more honest or more vulnerable in that way, and it feels uncomfortable to do so, and it feels like that those pieces of information, they go into people's minds, and they're able to twist it because they don't have the full story. They don't, that one thing that is vulnerable, it's like, oh, that's kind of weird, like why would that guy do that? Like you didn't ask that question, and they're not willing to ask those questions because it's not the space for it, but I'm being vulnerable, and I have completely changed the image that I've presented to them because of that. So is that something that any of you battle with as well?
I can answer it, or if anyone wants to say something. Okay, so as a personal anecdote, like I cry a lot. I cry way too much. So that may be something that I have learned how to manage through, how to regulate my emotions, when and how to show those emotions. When is that moment where I'm so passionate that I feel like I can cry either because I'm way too happy or I'm way too angry about what's going on. But at the same time, knowing, understanding, and creating my core values, so everything that I do or I go through actually has the same image that I want you to have. What's that image that I want you to have? That I'm not only just Simon, that I'm not only a student, that I'm not only whatever. I am a Venezuelan. And for me, personally, it's important for people to know what Venezuelans really are, especially like in this moment in history. So, yeah.
So keeping on that same kind of mask-wearing topic or subject, I'd like to ask what kinds of support from faculty, peers, or administration made the biggest difference in your leadership journey, and with that mask and persona thing kind of going on as well?
Personally for me, support from the community I've found here at Mankato has honestly been one of the greatest communities I have ever been a part of. Personally for me, being my authentic self, being able to be open, have a conversation like this one towards people helps immensely, whether you're having a mask of you have to be professional or you have a mask of you're having fun with your friends. Whichever mask you choose with that, it's amazing just to be able to be open and to have the opportunity to even say, like, I have a mask to go do this. I'm able to go do this and get your word out for like my opinion. So like I think the faculty here, my peers, have been an immense help of support for me here.
Do you have any particular, because I know you said you're involved in PhD in Greek life in that way, do you have any particular experiences where that's really stood out to you?
So for me, I do PR marketing for the Panhellenic Council. So for me, that was a really big step because you don't see people like me being in those positions. And to be able to be kind of like, I guess, your public relations, so the face of something that is a whole community has been like one of the greatest achievements from that.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have anything to say, any faculty support they've received that has helped them in their journey? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that for me, it's a little different than for some of the other people on the panel because while, yes, I am Native American, I am like a white presenting, look like just like a regular guy that you would see around on campus or whatever. The best thing for me for whether it's faculty or my friends or peers or acquaintances, whatever, is when people remember those little things about you that set you apart from other people. Like, like my friends will come up to me and like, "Hey Riley, I remember that you're Native. I heard this thing about Native people. Is this something that you can relate to, or can you tell me something about that?" Out of genuine curiosity and not tokenization. And so that has made me feel seen as a way to empower my, identity that doesn't get to be shown around other people who I don't share it with.
You bring up something that kind of stands out to me, which is tokenization. And I didn't understand this concept until I think I just got around graduating high school. And tokenization, for those of you that don't know, or being a token, is more than just a character on South Park. It's the term refers to when a person of color or diversity is included in a project or anything is included for the purpose solely of looking like we are diverse, or looking like that project or that thing, whatever it may be, is inclusive, when in truth they didn't really seek out the diversity standard. They didn't really seek people to include in that. They just needed one in order to meet the standard, or so that they could say that they were inclusive when that wasn't truly their intention. I've struggled with tokenization quite a bit. Being a boisterous or out there leader as I am, it's easy for organizations, and I'm not saying any one organization specifically, I've lived a lot of life, but it's easy for organizations to notice that there's differences in a person and say that person's good at speaking, or that person's good at leading, that we want him to be a shoo-in for this position or for this opportunity because he fits the marks that we want him to fit, even though there's a more qualified person over here, but he's also black, or he's also diverse. And it makes it look like the organization is more inclusive than it actually is, because when they go to their corporate meetings, or they go high up and they're looking to recruit more diversity, or whatever the case may be, they're able to say, see, look at this guy, he's leading our blah, blah, blah division, and he's black, so we're diverse, we're inclusive, we fight for this. And that's my experiences with tokenization. So that's something I'd like to pose to the panelists as well. Go ahead, please.
And then this one's electronic.
Is on? Okay, perfect. Okay, so I would like to piggyback off of that. I've gone to a predominantly white institution my whole life. So I feel like I was able to put myself out there positively and make connections and meet new people. And I felt like that was easy for other people to put me on the forefront and be like, oh, like, look, like we have this black person, and like, we're very, very diverse. But I went to a school, it was called Dowling Catholic. I'm pretty sure like it was like 13%. I feel like that's pretty good for Iowa, because, But yeah, like I feel like it was so easy for them to put me like up on the forefront, and like to put me on the latest newspaper, or to, put my name out there, which is like, it made me feel very, very uncomfortable, because it's like these people, they act like they know me, but it's like I feel like they don't really want to get to know the real Isaba. And so I feel like that's where there was like a spiritual warfare going on like throughout my whole life. Like, what am I really like? Do people really want to know me for me, or do people want to know me because, you know, I make their institution look good. I make their institution look diverse.
That makes a lot. Now, this is a topic I can get emotional about, because that's a very difficult position to be in, because we're getting opportunity. So opportunity that's not available to us typically, or available to us normally, or we're on a trajectory now because people notice us for our token capabilities and what our skin color can do for their organizations, and our abilities become second to that. So we're in a position primarily, they'll tell us, they'll say, like, oh no, you're a track athlete, so your times are exceptional. You're very good at this event, and that's why we want you here. You are an outstanding leader, and we want you to be captain. And that's what they'll tell us. But the truth behind it all is that we fit the narrative of what they need in order for recruiting to be good, in order for them to look like they're inclusive to our kind. We see somebody who's ethnic, somebody who's from a different country, and that will make other people from that country want to be involved. That will make other people from that country, other people of that skin tone, that color, want to be involved in our organization, and we need to be more diverse. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make people that look like that be leaders, and we're gonna give them opportunities. And that's not just in school, that's in corporate life, that's outside of school as well. We get into, let's say, a big company like YouTube, and we go there, and now all of a sudden I'm getting a $300,000 a year salary for what I believe is my talents. I'm a great editor, you know, and I've been given that opportunity because of my skills, but behind it all, it's really just because I'm black, and they needed a black person to be in that position. And is that what you're saying? That's a difficult position to be in, and I'd be curious how you feel about it as well in regards to your experience, because how do you react to that? How do you say no to opportunities that will get you out of a worse life than or of a bad life that you're living now, and this is an opportunity that could boost me up? How do you react to that, and what should we do?
I feel like in this, I feel like I haven't found like a perfect way to say no. I feel like I'm a people person, so it's like one of those things where it's just like, I feel like if I say no and actually put my foot down, it might be a problem. And that's one thing that I would like to avoid, because I don't want to be deemed as like an angry black woman, or I'm being difficult. So that's one thing that I am trying to work on. But for now, it's a process, I would say.
No, I agree. And you bring something else up, if anybody else has anything to say about that topic, but you bring something else up about the angry black woman stereotype that is also massively present and difficult for us to deal with. But it's about that same kind of walking that line of perfection and always having to present yourself as perfect at all times. But please.
Yeah, I would just like to add, in addition to what you guys have said, I see it like, same way, but at a different angle. There's what you heard, and there's who you heard. When it comes to opportunities, one of the philosophy I've adopted has always been, my first step forward is always what I have to offer. Then who I am as a black person, or as a Muslim, or as an international student is secondary. So again, it's up to the individual that provide the opportunities, or that needs somebody that is different or of different background. It's on them, on their intention of recruiting me or providing the opportunities. But I am making my first step forward based on the philosophy of what I am. Then who I am is the second steps I made. And that has always, opened a lot of doors for me. And as I said, it may be different from other people, but what you are, who you are, what you are, who you are, that has been what I've always used. Even when I'm applying for something, I always provide, I don't sometimes I don't like taking the box of like race. Are you black? Are you African? Are you all that? When my resume can speak for, for me.
Yeah, I think that, that applies. I wonder, or I have a question rather, for you and Isab, I know like something that I've heard is a struggle point for people of culture that I haven't necessarily struggled with myself, but I'm curious about is your names. So when you apply to a job, or when you go to put yourself into an environment that you're expected to be taken professionally, and kind of on this same line of diversity and being black and being given an opportunity for being black or for being white, or I'm sorry, for being diverse, you kind of have the opposite effect when you're applying to jobs or trying to get taken seriously for opportunities, because your name outs you as diverse, and it outs you for certain stereotypes, and it outs you for what people expect of you, even though they haven't seen your faces yet. Has anybody experienced that?
I just wanted to say, even though it kind of like outs you for your diversity, it just puts extra pressure on you being even better than the rest. It doesn't kind of like take us out of the pool that we're not good enough, but it's just extra pressure. And so to add to you guys' point, for us it's more, no matter like you being black or something like that, being the forefront, it's more, you wouldn't be given opportunities or anything like that if you didn't work or if you didn't have that skill. It's just, you have to put in even more than the rest of the people. And so even though they're trying to meet a quota or whatever diversity thing they have, you wouldn't be given that opportunity if you weren't good enough. And as we all know, we work extra hard to just meet the baseline of what the rest of the population does. And so that's my point of view.
Yeah, I can add to the name thing, especially my former roommate, short story. My former roommate applied for a job. Again, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that I created a second account and used a kind of like very European name. So he applied for a job with his original name, original account, like imagine like Mulumbu or Agbarigidoma, something like that. So the employers, he never got a job. He applied for like almost 100 jobs from Zip, Recruiter, Indeed, LinkedIn. He tried those opportunities. Then he created a second account and disguised as an European descent individual. Then he got it like on the 10th attempt, he got an opportunities. So and again, that I was trying to like make reference to the name that you mentioned, that sometimes, does our name keep us out of some opportunities, or does it disengage us from, meeting on the pathway of getting a lot of opportunities, being somebody from different background? And yeah, that's the way I see it. However, just like she mentioned, we have to do extra work. If other people are making just, they are doing the basics, we have to do extra just to even be the baseline, as you mentioned. Just to get in that room, we have to don't just get involved in one club, you have to get involved in multiple clubs. Now imagine trying to get a job, your resume has to stand out because there are so many people that are trying to get the same job, but because of your background, because of your diverse background or whatever you've experienced, they may keep you out of the loop. Like, I don't know, based on the stereotype, and we may want to prioritize this individual.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think it's even more so painful once you get into the position or you get into that role, and everyone's watching you. Like you've gotten it now. You've gotten the job. You've gotten the opportunity. You step into the room, and there's this ambiance where it's 100 white people looking at you. It's 100 people that don't look like you. You don't feel welcome, and you have the same space that they've worked hard for, and now you have to prove yourself. Now it's like, all right, what are you going to do? what are you gonna do that's above and beyond everybody else here? Because if you fall beneath what the standard is on anything, now you're highlighted. And what can come of that?
I have an advice for that. I have a little formula because I believe that everything starts with a why. And that's what I was saying about the core values. So the formula is, you go to your why, which are your core values. Let's say, I want to get this job because I want to be happy with the job. Then you ask yourself, is it worth it to those core values? Let's say, is it worth it to feel different, to go through this discomfort, to try to make my best in this interview for this purpose? If it is, then push, keep doing it. Don't leave it. Resilience makes perfect. And at the end, if it's not aligned, which is the other side of the formula, try to push yourself out of it. Because at the end, once again, nothing's perfect, and you can always try to make it as perfect as you believe it is. At the end, I do think that trying and showing yourself for what you believe is the most important thing that you need to do. And it's gonna be always worth it, always.
I agree with that. I feel like when you put yourself in those certain like environments where everybody is watching you, they're waiting for you to slip and fall. They're waiting for you to mess up. But I feel like that's built character for me, because it's just like, I feel like if everybody's watching me, I feel like in the same way they can like see me fall, it's the same, like they might be scared of my potential and what I can do. So, that's all I have to say.
I do want to add on to that. Like, I absolutely agree with everything you're trying to say. Sometimes I would say I do try to like use it as like a motivation or like spite. I mean, like, I know there's some people out there that, you know, maybe don't want to see me succeed. But then at the end of the day, I put that in the back of my mind and I realize at the end of the day, all I really have is myself. And I need to get out there and get stuff done and forget everyone else, you know. I just want to, like, at the end of the day, it's more like, as long as I tried my best and I did things to the best of my ability, then I'm not really worried.
Now you said something very powerful that applies to this, which is at the end of the day, all we have is ourselves. And that's a massive limiting belief that works against us in a lot of times. I feel the same way, not only in regard to professionalism or being in school or trying to become a part of a group. I feel the same way in the fact that my family is not in the same position that I am. My family is, I'm the only person in my family that's in college. I'm one of 2 people in my family out of 7 relatives that have graduated high school, and I'm working from a base of knowledge that I'm actively learning. Most people in school or most people with connected families, you can go back to your dad, you can go back to your sister, you can go back to somebody who's been through these experiences and ask them for advice. Hey, I'm down on myself. Hey, I don't feel like this is going my way. What do I do? What did you do? But in a lot of circumstances, especially for international students, especially for diverse students in general, we get into positions where we don't have people to look to for advice. And we have that feeling that we are by ourselves. So we have to do exactly what I did when I got to college, which is insert myself in a culture that I was completely unfamiliar with. I had to get uncomfortable in order to be able to thrive or strive or to get people like yourselves, or some of you rather, to respect me, to love me, to see me for who I am. And I had to prove my worth first. I had to show my character. I had to show what I could do for youth and for the organizations that I'm in before I had opportunity allowed to me. Before anybody was willing to give me this stage, I had to audition. I've spent the last 2 years auditioning for people's audience, for people to listen, for people to hear, so that I could be in a position that I am right now. Because why can't I come into school and have an aspiration to put a panelist of 10 people together to inform and instruct and motivate students to understand our perspectives on day one? Why couldn't I do that? Why do I have to prove myself? Is that something that you guys have experienced as well at anything?
I have something about it. The first thing I think is when you don't find a word of advice for what you're doing, you have to recognize that you're doing an example. That is something very important. And everyone says that you have to be nice to yourself. The truth is, count how many times a day you scold yourself for something that you did wrong, and how many times you congratulate yourself for something that you did right. Something that I personally do, and this is kind of weird, but I've been doing this for like 10 to 15 years now. I write myself letters for specific moments in which I got accomplishments. So in the future, I know which were those pinpoints where I actually started to do whatever I'm doing right now. Because at the end of the day, I wouldn't say it's only you, yourself, and your life. The truth is, that's the starting and the ending point. So make yourself feel proud and tell it to yourself as much as you can. That's my word of advice.
Simon Isaac, everybody. So a little bit about Simon. I spent a week with Simon and El Shaddai in Kansas City, sleeping on the floor of a church, volunteering for the local Kansas City areas. Crystal. And I got to talk to Simon a lot, and he left a massive impression on me. And if you ever have anything you're struggling with, it really doesn't matter what it is. He will let you know exactly how to get through it. 90% of the time, it's exactly what you need to hear.
Thank you.
Staying on this topic, I want to, because we've kind of navigated our way into the workspace a little bit, talking about getting into official institutions, positionally or just being present. So another question that I wanted to ask in regard to that is, have you ever had to challenge authority or speak up in a room where you felt unheard, and what was that outcome? I have done this on many different occasions, and with that, I mean, it's hard to pick a single story, but on a very, very regular basis, I challenge authority. And it's not for the purpose of challenging authority, it's for the purpose of being myself. If there's something that I'm involving myself with that I don't believe in, it's not going to present the way that I present to you right now. It's not going to present like this. It's who I am right now, unscripted, speaking to you, and believing in absolutely every word that I say comes from my heart and deep down in my soul. It's a passion of mine to make diverse students feel included, to let them know that there's a place on campus for everybody, and even though that we are the minority, we can be strong. And that is something I present from actively. So if I'm getting involved in something that doesn't have that core value at its forefront, if it doesn't have belief in that, it's very difficult for me to give my soul to it. And if I can't give my soul to it, I won't do it. And so being able to speak to that or speak from that and present that is a difficult practice to get into. But once you're able to, you find your identity, and it's very valuable. So that's the question that I pose.
I will say that I have experienced this a lot, especially on campus. One thing about me is I hate being told no, especially without a reason, and especially if the reason that's given to me I feel like is complete BS. I don't like being told no, not because I don't believe that there are things that maybe university-wide, policy-wide, it's frowned upon or they just don't have the budget for, but I especially hate being told no when there's opportunities for students, and it's an opportunity for the university as well. When I first got here, as I stated before, I'm from Maryland, which is like home of the HBCUs. From Howard to Bowie State to Morgan State to Hampton, all of them are in that area, and a lot of people that I grew up with did end up staying over there and going to HBCUs. I knew for myself, I didn't want that, because the world is not just filled with minorities, and even though growing up with other minority groups and diverse cultures, I know that's not just the world. There's other people that you will have to deal with in the workforce, and so exposing yourself to that from a young age kind of gives you the leg up. So with that being said, when I came here and they said, oh, they have Greek life and there's so many organizations on campus, there's so many clubs. And when I came here, there was no Black Student Union anymore. African Student Association barely existed. And there was no Greek life for Black students specifically. I had mentioned it to a couple of advisors on campus and faculty, and they told me, oh, I don't really think that can happen. The ones that we did have here, they were commuting up to the cities. I don't think anybody's gonna wanna do that. I don't think we have a big enough population of African American students and Black students on campus to even have that. And I challenged them. I said, okay, well, if I ask the student population that we have and they actually have an interest, then you have to help me. And I sent out a survey when I rebooted Black Student Union, and I even collaborated with a couple organizations underneath the MCC to push out that survey. And when students of diverse cultures reached out and said they would be interested in the Divine Nine Greek life coming to campus, it was like, so you guys haven't actually asked students what they want, you just assumed. And I reached out to the organizations themselves, and a lot of them were like, yeah, we'll do it if we'll come down and do a whole information session. If you guys can pull together the students, we'll work with you. And I'm proud to say that like now we have members of Zeta Phi Beta who are here openly recruiting people, recruiting girls for their sorority. And it's like a big milestone for me because it's like, I love to see that, and I love to see that BSU is still continuing on, and there's more and more students of color that are coming on campus, because when I was first year, I was told, oh, that's not a possibility, we're like 8% of the campus. And so being able to hear that no, but also convert it into a challenge, like it's no for now, but it's not no forever.
I think it's extremely important for any school, I believe, to have full inclusivity in Greek life. And me and Alana have had this conversation on a couple of different occasions about the Divine Nine. So for those of you that don't know what the Divine Nine are, it's a grouping of African American, it's not even necessarily reduced to one race, but it's diverse fraternal and sorority organizations that represent their diversity solely. And they have their own cultural practices that they do, and they're business owned, and it's largely in part to the fact that when Greek life was established as an elitist organization for white people to tout their richness, essentially, and gang together with other people that are also as rich or have as much opportunity as the next, to get together and to share that. And it's largely due to Greek life existing, period, that HBCUs had developed these organizations, the Divine Nine. And I personally believe that it's almost required of any college to have members or chapters of the Divine Nine on their campus in order for the campus to be considered at all diverse. I will say that VP Morris at a networking event just prior to this let us know that the campus has gone from 3% in his, I believe he's here if he wants to tell me I'm misspeaking, but I believe it's gone from 3% diverse population to 30% diverse population in the time that he's been here by himself, and that's a huge accomplishment. Yes, please. So,
I would like to share some experience. First of all, I'm very grateful for being here and also being a student, a graduate student in MSU. Since I got here, all my experiences, most of them, has been very pleasant. I enjoy being in events or just being busy, trying to improve myself or helping others. And when Davonte shared with me the panel, I'm uncomfortable, I did kind of had a little trouble finding when I have been feeling uncomfortable, because that's something that I don't really feel back in my country. We're all Mexicans. But here, it's very diverse. So you get to experience with other cultures, and primarily with Americans. Hello. Okay. So I was thinking about it, and something just happened this Monday that I was struggling to identify how it made me feel. But then I was like, there you go. I feel comfortable, but just happened to me. And in realizing how that happened and how it hit me, it kind of made me feel a little bit worse than how I was feeling, because it was from a place where I supposed to feel safe, where I supposed to be heard. But then I also thought about it, and I thought that it was a matter of attitude for me, and also from the place where that issue was coming from. So I gotta say that's gotta be the most uncomfortable moment I have felt, because I didn't feel like I was getting backed up by this place. And I think we gotta be all allies. We're all students here. We're all learning. We're trying to be better each day, and to have support from those places where you're supposed to have support and use those resources is just a way for you to feel comfortable. Thank you.
This concept of being uncomfortable is important. I feel like it's important to recognize is that there's nothing, and this is for anybody, it doesn't matter diversity, skin color, what you speak, whatever the case is, there is nothing that is accomplished from comfort. There's absolutely every major accomplishment that has ever taken place over the US's history, over the history of any organization, someone had no choice but to step into uncomfortability in order to make that happen. Something that isn't being done or hasn't been done before is massively uncomfortable to put together, is massively uncomfortable to achieve. And in order to achieve it, you have to navigate pathways that other people haven't gone through. And that's an aspect of what this panel is, which is why I titled it as I did. We, in my opinion, don't have, in my experience as a diverse individual, people of diversity don't have a choice but to be uncomfortable. In order for me to be what the United States version or definition of success is, in order for me to obtain that, I have no choice but to walk into the United States' white institutions. I have no choice but to step into corporate offices. I have no choice but to put myself in those environments where I feel uncomfortable. And from that discomfort, I am able to achieve whatever that version of success may be. There are opportunities for people of white culture to be comfortable. If you don't want to partake in something, you don't necessarily lose the opportunity altogether. You can go to work the next day, or maybe you're sick for a week and you don't feel like you want to go to work, but the next week you come back, it's just generally understood, like, oh, they were sick. But for me, that might be different, because now you're connecting. We spoke earlier about the need to be perfect, or when you're coming into a job and everybody's eyes are on you for you to perform exceptionally well. A white culture person being sick for a week is much different from me being sick for a week, because now I've dropped the ball somewhere. Now my projects are failing. Now things are not happening as they're supposed to, and I could altogether lose those opportunities. So I think that's the reason, or the motivation behind the panel's title itself, is that from that space of discomfort, change is made. And that's not just for us, that's for everyone in the audience as well. So even though I largely feel, and this is my personal opinion, but I largely feel uncomfortable pretty much always. I'm uncomfortable right now speaking to you. I've just trained myself to be uncomfortable. I don't feel like there's outside, the one experience I have had as a human being where I felt comfortable in an environment, it was immediately snatched away from me because of the overwhelming feeling that I didn't belong in that cultural atmosphere, which is the story I shared at the beginning of the panel. And I think that's unfortunate. And I don't know if anybody else has that experience or opinions on that as well, but it's been difficult for me, and now I fight my hardest to try to create an environment where I do feel culturally accepted, where I do feel that everyone has the same understanding of me regardless of what it is that I look like or what I present.
I want to say something about it. I want to say something, and I also want to link it to the idea of authority, because I was going to say that one of my biggest lessons in leadership is that the best tool that a leader has, it's hearing. It's actually listening actively to what's going on, to what people is thinking, to what people is even saying about it. First example, in the student government, the first part of the sessions is having an open forum. People go and speak to us. People go and ask questions. People go and even promote events. So then afterwards, we can still keep listening, and at the end, there's a little debate about it. Sometimes we don't understand how important it is to listen to the environments that we're surrounding ourselves to. Because at the end, even when we think that authority is something that may look menacing, the authority is only the head of a whole body. And when you hear to the whole body, just as you do when you hear to your body when you're sick, you can, let's say, I wouldn't say heal, but you can work through all of these parts. Another example, I told you that I worked with poetry and students in Venezuela. So I had to elaborate projects for people that didn't have quality education enough to learn or write poetry, but by giving it a twist and giving them a tool for self-expression. It wasn't about poetry. It was about having them say what they need to say in remote places and remote environments where people are not used to be heard of. When you do that and you understand what is that thing that the people you're leading actually needs, that's when you go and, let's say, defy, or I wouldn't even say defy, I would say sit down and talk to authority to make them understand that it's not only your opinion, it's like this huge, great opinion that everyone has, that at the end, it's a democratic future for everyone. And believe me, when I speak about it, like with Venezuelan roots, it makes sense.
To go back to like the uncomfortable, like feeling like you were comfortable in the space and then like getting that snatched away from you, I feel like that's happened to me plenty of times. I feel as though growing up Sudanese, like I thought everybody could relate to the same thing. Come to find out, I went to a family reunion on my mom's side, and my mom is from a tribe where they speak a different language rather than Erebi Juba. And so when I had went there and I'm trying to speak to all my family members and I'm trying to speak to some of the aunties and I'm trying to speak to some of the kids, it's like they're not understanding what I'm saying. They're looking at me like as if I'm an outsider. So they're speaking their tribal language, my mom's tribal language, and I'm just kind of sitting there like, oh, like it kind of opened my eyes to us in a sense, because it's just like I don't know my mother tongue. I don't know my dad's tribal language either. And so it kind of put me in an uncomfortable situation. And also, when I'm trying to speak Arabic to somebody that knows Arabic outside of my culture, it's like, we speak different dialects. It's like, do you even know what you're saying? So it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like that put me in like an uncomfortable kind of position where it's like, I don't know where, like, what am I? What am I? That's just the experience I wanted to share.
I just want to add on to that, and this also includes like the HBCU thing. So there's this thing that they do at my church. So like every year the seniors, you go around and you say like, oh, I'm going to this school, I'm going to this school. And for some background context, a lot of people at my church, they're HBCU alumni, so their kids are going to be legacies. My parents didn't go to college. I don't have HBCU money. So like when it was time for me to go on stage, I was like, hey, like I'm going to MNSU, I'm going to be studying athletic training. And then like instead of getting like, woo, like, yay, congratulations, it's like, oh, so-and-so's going to Spelman, and this person's going to Howard, and this person's going to Morehouse. Like, why are you not? And I'm like, it's like they were like ridiculing me for not wanting to go to an HBCU. And it's not that I didn't want to, but at the same time, I don't have the funds for it. And then most AT programs aren't that good down in the South. When I, God willing, graduate from the master's program here, I will have a bunch of connections with like the different clinics and like sports teams in Minnesota, because there's so many connections here at MNSU.
I was gonna say I wanted to add on to like being uncomfortable in like my own culture. I will notice that when I was growing up, I will admit I am kind of whitewashed. You know, I don't really fit the mold of like both cultures or something like that. But I noticed that sometimes whenever I do try to like make the effort to learn like my language, my culture, music, I do sometimes get ridiculed, and it's more of like bro, you don't know it, so why are you trying or something like that, right? And it sometimes does eat my self-esteem because it's like, why am I making all this effort when at the end of the day, like I might not even be accepted by like my own people. But eventually I realized that I gotta kind of just like power through and then realize that like, yeah, people are gonna say stuff regardless, but it's I have like a duty to learn my language. I have a duty to learn my culture, and I have a duty to like learn all of that. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to add on to that.
I did want to add on to what you said about the statement of like being called whitewashed. I will say that like myself, from like probably around middle school, I switched from private Catholic school to public school, and that's when I got a lot more comments that, oh, I was whitewashed, oh, I probably don't even live in the area. And at first it hurt. I had talked to my mother about it, and I was like, you know, I don't appreciate that I'm being called whitewashed. Like, I think that I interact with people of my culture and people of other diverse cultures just as much as anybody else. And my mom had to break it down for me that like a lot of the times some people would be intimidated by others and use the term whitewashed when they feel like somebody doesn't assimilate with a group as much as they should, or they may speak a little bit more proper English than other people do when they use slang or use common terms and vernacular that's based on region, or maybe they just don't have an accent. And for me, it was like, why are we using the term whitewash? Why can't it be just like, oh, maybe I'm Americanized? And growing up, I had to realize that that's kind of a value that my immigrant parents instilled in me. It was like, we don't want you walking around acting like you don't know how to talk properly. They refused to teach me, excuse me, even though we speak English and we speak a dialect of English, it was like they refused to teach me because they felt like I needed to learn how to speak proper English. That way I wouldn't be targeted in the workplace or targeted throughout college. And so I think that kind of challenged me because when it came to schoolwork, sometimes I talk and I use common language or I use common slang just out of convenience. But then teachers would sit there and be so surprised that, oh, an essay that I typed out was so well written. And so I felt like, you know, why are we attaching that to another race or another culture and deeming it as whitewash? Why can't it be just another student of color, a student of a diverse background that excels well, or a student that wants to excel well?
I can relate to that very closely. Like I said, I come from a background of people that haven't graduated high school, haven't attempted college, and the different spaces that I've ended up in throughout my life, trying to go back to them, I recognize that where I'm being presented with this whitewashed concept. For those unaware, being whitewashed means that you've forgotten your culture. You're being accused of cultural erasure, essentially, where you have succumbed to cultural erasure. Where I was in California is where I started my memory of growing up. I was born here in Robbinsdale, but moved to California shortly thereafter. And when I went back to California after I got out of the military, when I was in California as a child, I sagged my pants. I wore real bulky boxers that had a cute pattern on them so that it looked cool when I walked down the street. I wore a quadruple XL polo shirt that's big enough to cover up anything if you had something tucked in your waistband or whatever the case may be. That was the culture. And I go back and I'm dressed similarly to how I'm dressed now, and nobody will talk to me. The friends that I reach out to, I can't walk by and share the same concepts and dialects that I shared with them when I was a child. They don't even recognize who I am anymore. There's a lot of people that I try to associate myself with or reach back into the past and reconnect with, and they don't even want to speak to me because they feel I've become educated, or I'm a schoolboy now, or like, oh, you're getting smart. And where something that if you come to me and present yourself and you say something to me that I feel is ridiculous or I think is unintelligent, and I share that with you, and now this person is upset with me because I've put effort into understanding what words mean, which you should too. But I've experienced that in that regard as well, where it kind of ties in again with not feeling welcome in the places that I came from and having to find new places to put footprints as an adult.
I just wanted to say, like, this ideology I think is more prevalent in America, and I think America has like weaponized education against Black people here, because that's not my reality as an international student. It's just not something we go through, and I think certain traits or certain ways of like talking and stuff like that has been kind of like linked with white people or like their culture, and then Black people trying to like seek out what's not white culture, it's just what you seek out as a person, and then you get shamed for like, oh, you're kind of like whitewashed and stuff like that. And so I think it might seem backwards, but I think it's like the diverse population's responsibility to kind of like take that back and not judge others for like trying to seek those qualities and like kind of take it from, well, the white culture or something like that.
I feel like with my experience with that, I feel like it is very prevalent to where I'm from as well. So there's a large Sudanese population in Iowa. Although we are Americanized, I do see a pattern of tribalism still, and it's still like installed in us as kids when we were younger. So I feel like when we grow up, we're taught, oh, this person is this way because of their certain tribe. Don't try to be like this because that's not you. And I feel like that's inflicted in us at a young age, and when we grow up, it kind of, I feel like in a way it's installed in us to kind of hate one another. And I feel like that's a pattern because when you go back home, there's a lot of war about territorial stuff and religion and all of that stuff. So I feel like it is kind of prevalent to what's happening and going on here, but it's just in a different font.
Yeah, I can agree with that as well, and I do want to, I see that you have the mic there, but I do want to let everybody know that we are open for questions. So if you have something that you want to come down and speak, there's a microphone over here, and right here we have about 15 minutes left of the panel. Time flies when you're having fun. But please, Liban. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I was adding on to it. In my culture, there is a lot of similar clans where people will, there's a kind of joke that goes around where it's like if there's a joke that goes around where if you try and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot. But I was gonna say is that I noticed it's more prevalent in the United States too, where it's like people will really get mad at each other when they find out they're from a different clan, even if it's like a neighboring clan. When I realized that like we're all the same, we're all from the same country. There's no reason we should be fighting over such minuscule like details of like, oh, what region are you from, or what part of you from. I feel like we should be more like united and like have like unity when it comes to stuff like that.
I agree. We had a question.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
Hey.
Crystal Watts, Assistant Director in Student Activities, and I run the Community Engagement Office. So first of all, thank you so much, each and every one of you, for coming out on a Wednesday night on a dreary day in the fall to speak your truth. Nobody can speak that better than you can. And this is a topic that people don't lean into because nobody likes to be uncomfortable. But leaning into that a little bit more, for those of you in the room that look like me, I've just taken a few notes because they've educated us quite a lot tonight. So number one, Mashoud, it's always good to see your face, Mashoud. He and I attended Southwest Minnesota State University together. So I'm so glad to see him here. But you mentioned, like, when you put your foot forward first, the first thing you're doing is like, what can I offer? And so for those of you in the room that look like me, how are we meeting these people step for step? How are we meeting them step to step? I can tell you that learning a name is nothing compared to somebody else having to learn a second language to save their life. So how are we meeting them step for step? Also, how are we calling out bias when we see it? And this could be in conversations that nobody else is even privy to. How are you calling out that bias? I'm a huge fan of a pregnant pause. I'm a huge fan of asking people to repeat themselves within context. You will all be future leaders in some way, whether you're a parent, whether you're a manager, whether you're an executive. Every single one of your fields that you're going into has that opportunity for you. So how are you calling out the bias? Don't use someone else's energy to do your learning. Google is free. You start there and you keep looking. They've already expended a lot of energy. They just showed us that tonight. And lastly, and this is something that I feel that it's just not prevalent really in any culture, but learn how to be wrong. It is okay to get it wrong sometimes. We spend all of our lives learning how to get it right, learning how to be right, how to lean into that right, all that perfection that Devontae and so many others talked about. How do you be wrong? And how do you do it gracefully? And the honor in that is accepting that wrongness and doing the learning from it. And being that vulnerable person, which is also meeting them step for step. So those are the things that, that came to mind tonight that I just want to speak to the people in the room that look like me to make sure that we're walking together in this process, because it's all awkward. It's all uncomfortable. And again, thank you. I know and have been, had a joy to work with so many of you on this panel throughout my last couple of years, and you just inspire me, you amaze me all the time, and thank you so much for doing this.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Christy, for those valid points. Again, just something that could help a lot of people as well. What we're doing here as student leaders, we serve our fellow students, but being on this panel, being on this stage in front of the beautiful audiences, it's not comfortable, trust me. And one of the hard lessons I've learned, because I became an assistant coach for soccer girls at my former school when I was a junior. I attend class with my players that I coach. So when the new coach came, he wanted a new environment, a new safe space for everybody. And new coach is different. It's from black culture, from Trinidad. The first thing he said was, everybody, we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It was very, very realistic. You went straight to the point. And we're like wondering, what does it mean by be comfortable with being uncomfortable? Then he said that is our vulnerability. That from the outside, a lot of people see it as being weird, but you know yourself that this is who you are, this is what you have to offer. So again, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That does not mean you're going to find yourself in an uncomfortable situation all the time, but you're already prepared for that mentally and sometimes feel like, psychologically, because you don't know where that may come from. So there's always going to be challenges of being the uncomfortable challenges, but since you're already prepared for that mentally. So again, that kind of helped me along the way, like, okay, be prepared, be comfortable with being uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean you're going to find yourself in that situation all the time. But again, you have the tool to work your way around that part.
Absolutely. I want to, oh, please.
I also want to agree with that as well, is that when I first got here, I was uncomfortable. I'm not used to being one of the only black people. When I was living in the dorms, I was the only black person on my floor. And I didn't know anybody else on campus. I didn't know anybody in the Midwest at all. And for me, what I noticed was like when I was first uncomfortable, it was like that little noise on TikTok, the chattering in the background and everything like that. And then once I started making that a space to be comfortable in, it was like it all went silent. And it's not to say that it doesn't come back and forth every now and then, but it was just more for me. I made it a mission that, oh, I am actually going to take up spaces that I don't see people that are like myself taking roles in. I joined student government as a senator. I started an RSO. I was hanging out a lot more in the multicultural center. I joined the Maverick cheer team just because I did not see people who were like me taking up space in those areas. And I think for some people it was a lack of knowing that they can reach for that and actually be a part of those organizations and be a part of those clubs and be in those spaces. And I didn't think I was doing too much when I was on the cheer team. I was like, you know, I'm just another cheerleader. But there would be so many students of color that would come up to me after the games and be like, oh, we see you out there, like you're the only person of color, and it's so refreshing to see somebody that's a person of color taking up spaces in these areas. And it's so enlightening that there are other people who notice the hard work, that there are people who are trailblazers who are trying to take up space and start those positions, and there are people who are willing to follow in suit.
Yeah, I also want to say something on what you were mentioning. That is true. When you are a leader, you feel comfortable, but you're gonna make others also feel comfortable for what you're doing. I believe that being a leader begins with being human, because you don't only guide, but you listen, you walk with them, and you understand and recognize that there are stories with everyone. Everyone has their story, struggles, and strength, and that's what makes us unique, and that's what really shapes us. And I strongly believe that most of the important leaders, they remind us that we belong, that we matter, and that we construct, and they make us feel that there's hope when the moments are very uncertainly. So it is normal for leaders, student leaders, or leaders in general to feel uncomfortable because you're doing a change, and you're gonna make others who don't want that change uncomfortable.
I would like to add on.
No, please.
Oh, okay. I would like to add on to what Alana was stating. When I first got here, I'm from St. Paul, the east side. It's very cultural in a way. So like going to school, the only time I ever like seen a white person was like a teacher, or like if I seen like a white kid in class, like 9 times out of 10, like they're the teacher's kid. So when I got here, it was like a real culture shock, because I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, now I'm the only black person in class. I'm also the only black person on my floor. So when I did the application to become a community advisor, when I didn't get it, I was like, oh, it's because I did a little too much in my interview. And then I was an alternate, so I got a call like 2 or 3 weeks before training started. And when I got here, I still felt out of place. I was still uncomfortable, because not only was I the only black woman, I was the only black American person on the staff. And it was kind of hard because everybody knew each other. They were all friends. Like, oh, this person was my CA last year. Or like, oh, I lived in this building. I know this, I know this. So like, it took me up until like, I want to say like Thanksgiving break to actually like be comfortable around them. And like still, as me being in my second year, I'm still uncomfortable at sometimes. Like, everybody wants to touch my hair, or they think it's cool that I wear it in a scarf, or like, oh, like, it's so crazy that you can fit your hair in a ponytail. And I'm like, oh, it's just jail. But over time, it's nice to like when residents come up to me and they're like, oh, like I wish you were my CA. Like I hear that you're so cool, or it's so cool that you're black and you're a CA. Like I didn't know that I can do that. And I'm like, yeah, girl, like if you need somebody to be your rec letter, like I got you. Not saying that I'm just putting people on like that, but yeah, so it's nice to like when you're first uncomfortable and like you have to make space, you have to take up space for yourself, and then just being able to like not fully be yourself, but like have enough out where you can just like breathe. Like, you're not code switching too much, but you're not doing it not at all, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh no, please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to your thing about, like, I guess it's sort of along the same line of like putting your best foot forward and like presenting your best self in these spaces where people like you aren't seen. And it's kind of along the same line of the tokenization thing. Since I'm the graduate assistant for American Indian Affairs, a lot of times people go like, okay, we need diverse things to happen, so let's just forward it to American Indian Affairs so we can get our native representation on this thing. And I understand the whole like tokenization that's happening, but also at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna, like, it's our job as under American Indian Affairs, me as a native person, to put my best foot forward and to show these people like, yeah, I am more than just the label of the division that I work under or my like cultural representation. It's actually that like I have so many things to offer and I'm about to show you. And now that you can, like, now that you see that, like, people come up to you and they say like, I know you and like I want you around, and you get invited to more things. But part of the problem is that not all students who are like us are comfortable with doing that. And so sometimes it's on you, maybe me, you, whoever who's in that position to do that, just like reach out and like say hi to that one person that you see in Welcome Week or like in your class, or like they're by themselves all the time. I can tell they're not comfortable. Maybe they're not from here, you know, all this kind of stuff. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that we like to see happen, because then those people become more involved on campus, and then you get involved with their stuff, and then we become closer to each other like that.
Absolutely. We do have a question in the audience.
Yep. So good evening. I'm David Hood. I'm the Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, which simply means I'm President Inches number 2. So I have a comment. First of all, thank you for being vulnerable and for sharing your stories tonight. But my question is, what's next? I think this was a powerful event, but what do you want to see next? And then what is it that you would like to see from your university to help this to be a more welcoming place for all?
Can I say something about it? Okay, so this is gonna be like a non-traditional type of advertisement because it was something that I wanted to say. But I'm currently writing a manual about student leadership. It's a free and non-profit project I'm doing based on my personal experiences, my journey with keynotes, with this type of formulas and these stepstones in the way of how to be a better leader. I would say what's next is for everyone here present to take this information, to go to your homes and to start listening, not only towards your surroundings, but to yourself, to your friends, to the people that are next to you. Because when we start doing that, then, and this is actually like, this is pretty fun. This is a phrase that I remember from a movie. It's like 5 or 6 seconds, it's what it takes to be a hero. Imagine what 5 minutes can change life in people that may need it. Like, sit down and talk to someone. First, listen to yourself. Take your time. And if you have a little bit of enough time, give someone that extra time, and it will change lives. I think that's what's next for all of us. Personally, it's for me. Thank you.
I can tell when they're uncomfortable. That's why I leave. Like, okay, you feel comfortable.
Say, like, in terms of like what's next, there's a couple things that I think could happen and should happen within the university. I know that there's stuff that's going on with politics and everybody has their own political belief. However, I do feel like the university kind of stabbed a lot of us in the back in terms of like the diverse cultures when different colleges removed their diversity statements or their DEI aspect. I'll speak for like dental hygiene. When everything happened, they removed their DEI page on their webpage on MNSU. And for me, that sent a loud signal, and I decided I would not apply to the upper division here based off of that. And other students noticed it too. So it's like those small changes like that, maybe thinking more about how those really do affect your student population, because we see those. You may think that it's a small little change, we see it. In addition to that, maybe trying to keep more faculty that are of diverse backgrounds, because that is also something that we see. I know that, like, at the end of the day, you know, if somebody applies for the job and there's nobody of a diverse culture, or somebody has better credentials than the next person, you're going to pick the best fit for the university. But knowing that since I've been here, the director of African American Affairs has changed. The original director when I came here was Valencia Soraya Crosby. She has left. There was another person in the MCC, Rosalind Cobb. She also left. And another person in the MCC, Paku, who was for Asian American Affairs, also left. And it's like, granted, you know, this may be of their own volition, and it may be because things work out better for them, but having those vacancies does speak loud and clear to your diverse population that we're starting to go extinct basically on campus. We are starting to lose our allies in faculty and advising that can speak on our behalf. When I came here as a transfer student, my credits didn't transfer. I had 5 credits that transferred, and at that point I had taken over 80 college credits. And at this point I was already in Minnesota. I was concerned, my mother's concerned, because that was never our plan. And so it took me having to talk to a bunch of people in the MCC, and I was lucky to have Abdurrahman reach out to those departments and send my syllabi from those courses that I previously took. And majority of them ended up transferring, but that made me take miscellaneous classes for a semester, and it made me feel like, well, they didn't prioritize making sure my stuff transferred in. And if people like that are leaving the institution, who else are we going to turn to speak for us as faculty and advising when nobody else is hearing our voices?
I agree with this sentiment, and I'm going to allow for the conversation to continue. I just want to recognize we are past our time, so if there's another panel that you had intention to go to, I invite you to do so still. I do want to answer your question in full, though. What's next for me personally is that I've put parameters in place to make this event specifically possible every year, and I hope that happens. Everything as far as the organization and how I did this is repeatable, and all it will take, I can move the mic away from my face when it's in my hand, but when it's strapped to me, I can't do that. But all it would take is effort of somebody in the position that I represent to recreate this on a yearly basis, and that's what's next as far as this goes, because I think this is extremely powerful and necessary. Please.
Yep, I just want to provide one education moment for us because I think it's important. How many of you get some type of financial aid? Either you take out a loan, a federal subsidized loan, or you get a Pell Grant? Raise your hands high. Okay, so that is the reason why the diversity statements were taken down. That is a federal law that you cannot have basically diversity statements. You can't have different qualifications that are based upon sexual orientation, gender, race. We can't do that anymore. That's a federal law. So if we were to keep those diversity statements up as a university, we would be jeopardizing a lot of our students' financial aid, because then our institution would no longer be eligible to award financial aid. So it wasn't that the institution was shrinking away from our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, or to celebrating and supporting the diverse populations that we have here, but we want to make sure that we're protecting your access to resources to be able to fund your education.
I do want to say that, like, I completely understand that, because at the end of the day, college and universities, they're a business, and so the funding, the money, it's still needed. They need it to continue to retain students. However, I feel like, you know, within you guys removing it the same way that there are oftentimes emails sent out that, you know, this doesn't speak about it, it kind of felt like it was just swept underneath the rug. Like, we're gonna pull it and try to see if nobody recognized it, instead of saying that, you know, we know that this was recently pulled, this does not reflect the values of the university or our commitment to diversity, this was simply because of the way that we obtain our funding. And then it would be like, okay, it gives us something to hear that, like, they still care about us. We're still on the forefront of their minds in their actions, rather than, oh, let's pull it and hope that nobody notices, and if they do notice it, they'll probably just talk amongst themselves and that's it.
I was just gonna like, in addition to what you said about the political thing and the challenges that students faced on campus. Again, we understand the challenges that, you know, the school has to play safe, not just MSU Mankato. A lot of institutions around the country at this moment, we understand, we can see it, and it affects the school and it affects some students directly. As an international student, you know, somebody said earlier that challenge the authority. Please, I will highly encourage you, don't challenge the authority at this moment, because again, we are one of those, like, you know, we have to be super careful. We don't know what may change tomorrow morning, because different things happen like different day as an international student. So we are like at the lowest ever of vulnerability right now. I was discussing that with one of my advisors yesterday that, you know, a lot is going on, and I hope other international students are getting enough support. They are going to KIC and whatnot. We understand that, we can see, we can read everything, that everybody is just playing safe, and we're gonna get through this together, hopefully.
I think if it's a matter of what you can do, there's so many events on campus and around the community that are put on by people like us that, like, we're just waiting for you guys to come to these events. We really, like, we of course come to our events because of your classes, but come to our events not also because of your classes, but because you want to be there. The more people that come to our events, the bigger and better events that we can put on. They're fun. You don't have to look like us. You don't have to be part of our you know, clubs or RSOs to be at our events. The more people that come, we will welcome you in. We will give you a seat, you know, like, we want you all here.
Absolutely. I did want to, if there's any questions, again, please flag me down. But I did want to close, we are over time a little bit, so I understand, but I did want to close with one question that I think is very important for the timing due to Halloween coming up, and that is what the difference between appropriation and appreciation is. And especially with Halloween being around this time and people dressing up and experiencing the holiday in their ways, it's very easy to spark offense in what we wear, and we don't even know sometimes that we're doing it. So that's the question that I would pose to our panel.
Yeah, for me, as a Native person, I think that a lot of the discourse around appropriation versus appreciation happens around Native people. I mean, we had a whole football team and a baseball team change their names because it was seen as appropriation. To me, the difference between it is your purpose for using this imagery. Are you using it to look cool? Are you using it for a costume? Are you using it for a name for the image that it gives you? Or are you actually doing your due diligence to, like, learn about the significance of this thing and passing on to other people for them to appreciate and teach other people as well? Are you using it just for your own purposes, or are you trying to make something good come about of it? So that's what I think of when the difference of appropriation versus appreciation. I don't like when people use appreciation as an excuse to get away with doing it when they're not actually doing anything to teach themselves or other people about this thing.
Absolutely. we'll close with that. I'll add on to that is that I think there's a strong difference between appreciation and appropriation. I think if you're putting on a costume or wearing blackface or Indian garb or putting the stripes on your face to look the part for whatever the purpose is, if the purpose is to look more like a race or a culture that has its own beliefs and its own rituals and its own practices, you are being racist. You are being racist in that action. You are being racist as looking from that. You're being racist to a culture. You're trying to appropriate an image to gain the benefits of looking like that for a period of time, and you take it off right after that and you go on about your normal lives. I can't take my face off. I can't take my culture away from me or what you perceive my culture to be. I don't have that opportunity or that ability. And so if you're pretending to be me so that you can have some benefit or you can get shock and awe and laughs in an audience or whatever that case may be, that's highly offensive to not only me, but everything that I represent as a human being. That's the kind of thing that'll make me break down at home by myself. That's the kind of thing that makes me call back to my mom, if she's even there, to try to gain some of my own identity back. A small action on your part, a massive impact in the minds and hearts of the people that are looking at you. So that's my personal beliefs on the matter. Moving forward, though, I'd like to close the panel out and give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you all for being willing to be uncomfortable with me and with us on this stage. I know hearing some of the things that we had to speak of today is not necessarily the easiest to take in. Being here matters. Seeing your faces here matters. Seeing that this matters to the audience that we provided, or I'm sorry, the audience that was provided, is massively important to me, and I believe has impact on us on the stage as much as we have had on you. So thank you.
Thank you, Levante. For everyone still in the room, there are still other sessions happening upstairs at 7:30 if you guys would like to attend. There's also a snack session here and upstairs you guys can go get food from. And we highly would ask the panelists to stay afterwards, probably outside, so you guys can get the chance to talk to them if you guys would like to. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
We're going to get a group picture. Yes, absolutely.